This is the Grand Tapestry podcast brought to you by My Family Channel. Each one of our elders' stories is a unique thread in the grand tapestry of American history. In this podcast, we will examine them one by one to honor them and to gain perspective through their experience.
Hello, I'm Todd Smith from My Family Channel, and we are here today with Mrs. Pat O'Sullivan from Magnolia Springs, East Louisville, in Louisville, Kentucky. Miss Pat, thank you for joining us today on this, our second episode of the Grand Tapestry podcast.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
Of course. Well, thank you for coming from the far east end of Louisville all the way downtown, and thanks to Amy Webb for facilitating and bringing you down and participating and supporting all of this. The reason we're doing this is we want to capture your story. We want to hear from you in your own words what life was like, what it was like growing up, when you grew up and where you grew up, and we want to learn from those stories and sort of see if we can put ourselves in your shoes and see through your eyes and then take that perspective back to our own day and time, and it helps us understand how we got here and maybe then better where we're going. So wisdom from the past for the future. So you want to share some wisdom with us today?
If I had any, I'd certainly share it.
Okay. All right. Let's go back in time. Let's rewind all the way to when you were born, and let's just start at the beginning. So where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in a very small town in southern Illinois called Benton.
Benton, Illinois.
Benton, Illinois. We had about 8,500 people.
Okay.
When I was there.
Okay.
And it was September the 9th, 1930.
September 9th, 1930. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, you have a birthday coming up.
Yes. I'll be 89.
89.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So, Benton, now where is that in the state? Is that near?
It's in the very tip of southern Illinois. Illinois is a very long state, about 500 miles. So we were about 300 miles south of Chicago. There were 71 miles to go on down to Carroll. And then Chicago has a couple of miles above it. So
okay, yeah.
It's a big, long state.
That's a long state.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what, almost near St. Louis, or?
Well, it's between Evansville and St. Louis.
Okay.
And maybe you know of Carbondale, Mount Vernon, around there.
Okay. So 1930, Southern Illinois, Midwest America, right before the Depression. Mm-hmm. What are your memories of growing up in that area? What did you do for fun? What was life like in that day and time and place?
Well, I had it real good.
Okay.
I never felt the Depression at all because I was born in 30 and it was just...
You were 3?
Yeah. So I had it good, and my life was filled with dancing.
Oh, wow.
I was one of the few kids in town who got to take dancing lessons.
Oh, great.
And we went from town to town. We had a troupe, went from town to town and danced on whatever stage they had.
Oh, fun.
And the kids who took dancing lessons in that town always got to dance, but then I traveled with another troupe that was we were the headliners.
So you were the star, right?
Yeah.
Were you the diva? Were you a diva?
At that time, if there was such a thing. But we would, there was no television or anything. We'd pull up to these theaters, nice theaters, and there'd be a line around the block waiting to get in.
Wow.
Standing room only.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was good training. I was never bashful, never had stage fright. I was used to it.
Yeah. So you were how old, 6, 8, 10 years old? Or?
Well, I started at 3 and I quit at 80.
So I bet you got pretty good.
I hope so.
A lot of practice.
If I didn't, I should have.
So you really started before you were too young to even be shy or
right.
You were just grew up dancing on stages.
Yes. So, and then, of course, later, as I got a little older, I spent lots of time on skating rinks.
Really?
And, kind of the same. Then later on, by then it was, I guess, the end of the Depression. But like I said, I really didn't know it. There was such a thing as a CCC.
CCC.
They had a bunch of camps for boys, and they put them to work. They built a lot of parks and things.
Oh.
And then there was the WPA.
WPA.
And they built a great big lake by our little town with a diving board and, big swimming pool and stuff. And so we got to spend a lot of time swimming out there. And there was a pavilion right next door. So then we danced there. And then there were outdoor skating rinks, and that's where I got to skate.
Oh, that's great. That sounds like so much fun. What were the dances that you did? It was like...
Well, the dances that of my time would have been swing mostly.
Swing. Yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah. The Roaring 20s.
Yeah. But, that wasn't the dances I was doing on stage. It was ballet and tap and ballet and tap and acrobatics and point and, But when we went out with our boyfriends later, we did the swing and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's so fun.
That was much later.
Yeah. When you're 20s maybe, or...
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any pictures from those days? Or?
Not much. In those days, everybody didn't have a camera like we do now. And so once in a while in the summer, an aunt of mine who lived in Chicago would come down to Benton, and I'd have to put on all my costumes for that year, and she'd take a picture. But not really pictures of me dancing.
Right. More of a portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess taking a picture then was kind of
bigger thing.
A big deal. It
Yes.
was a big production. And,
Yes.
We've probably got more pictures in the last half hour here than
no doubt.
maybe the first 20 years
Yes.
of your life. Boy, it's funny how things change.
Yes, they've changed a great deal.
So was this like competitive dancing or just for...
Oh, no, it was shows.
Shows.
Yes, and if I wasn't dancing with my troupe, some club or something wanted us to dance someplace, and we were the entertainment. But, in those days, that was all there was. They thought we were great.
Oh, I'm sure you were. So I've known you now for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, and I never knew that about you.
Well, of course not. When you're 89, you don't dance much.
Well, but that's so much a part of your life your story, yes. And I guess that's sort of why we like doing this. So
yes.
Now, do your friends at Magnolia Springs know about your dance history?
Maybe some of them. I don't know.
Well, maybe they will after hearing this. So that takes us into the 40s. And how did World War II affect your family? And you would have been 15 or...
I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you that when World War II was declared, I was 11, and I think we were probably protected somewhat. And about the only thing I knew about World War II was when I went to the movies on a Saturday afternoon, and they'd show the news, and they'd show those planes whirling down. And, I was just a kid. That was kind of exciting to us. I didn't think that somebody was dying in that plane.
Right. Well, you're 11. You don't...
Yeah.
Your whole context is different.
And I think 11-year-olds today know a lot more than we did.
Yeah, you think about with technology, the news spreads worldwide in just seconds. In a few seconds after something big happens, everyone in the whole world knows about it because everyone's connected.
Yeah.
I'll bet that made a big difference on how you learned about things and how you even felt about them.
We were probably way behind on all our news. We got the Globe from St. Louis.
Is it a newspaper?
Yes, and then we had a local newspaper.
Even newspapers now are sort of...
Very different.
Well, sort of fading out,
Yes. Our little local newspaper was just, very small, but, you never saw an error. You never saw a word spelled wrong or bad punctuation. And now I can look on the front page of almost any newspaper and proofread, and it's really bad. It's a shame.
That's an interesting comment. So there's almost a decline in cultural sophistication almost.
Well, I don't know about the culture, but certainly the printing of the papers.
The grammar and
the spelling, yes.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting thought that as technology gets more advanced,
yes.
something like grammar devolves.
Well, another thing is the children can't write anymore. And we were made to learn to write. You know, you look at all the old papers and things, legal papers, the penmanship was beautiful.
It's handwritten?
And yes.
Not even typed. Xeroxed? Or,
yeah, right.
That's true. You know, I think that I am actually guilty a bit of that myself because I type all the time.
Of course.
And, I mean, I can type fast, but my writing looks like a chicken. It's a good point.
I don't know how important that is. It's just an observation.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting, though. Those are the kinds of observations we're really interested in because we don't know what it was like before, but you do, so you can tell us, and then we can compare and draw conclusions. But do you remember when the first TVs came out?
Well, I don't know just when they came out, but we had one of the first.
One of the first ones?
In our little neighborhood. And people really used to come up and look through our windows and watch some of the programs.
Really?
They would stand, if we were like having dinner and the TV was on, they'd stand on the front porch and watch it.
So did you know they were there and it was okay?
Yes.
So
yes. We were fine with that.
Okay.
Yes.
So you having a TV that was like, oh, wow, the O'Sullivans have a TV.
Yes.
Let's go stand on their porch. And they couldn't hear it. They could just see it.
I think they could hear it out the front door. You know, we'd have it on.
Huh. Wow, so different. I mean, we've got 20 screens around us right now. You know, we can watch TV on our phones, you know, on the way home. Not while we're driving. But,
hope not.
Until we have self-driving cars anyway. How were the 50s for you? Was that
Well, that was the year I got married in 51.
Okay.
So the 50s were early marriage to me, and I was not having one baby after another, but I had two in the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And boys, girls?
Well, the first one was a girl, then a boy, and then I had another two girls later.
So were you still in Benton at this time? Or?
Oh, no, we moved all over.
Oh, okay. And your husband, what did he do?
My husband was an optician.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, I think we put glasses on just about everybody in the country by now. At first, he made and fit glasses. But later on, he got into manufacturing the things that make the lenses, and so it was a different part of the optical business.
Okay.
And
that sounds interesting.
Meanwhile, I had gone to business school, so I ran the offices, and he traveled all around selling things. So I not only ran a dance school at night, but I ran an optical shop, not a shop, optical manufacturing goods in the day.
So you're a very entrepreneurial family. You had a optician business and a dance school.
Well, and my folks had a grocery store.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up in some kind of business.
Huh.
And my dad raised thoroughbred horses.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And was that in Kentucky?
No, that was Southern Illinois.
Southern Illinois, okay. Did he race in the Derby or?
Oh no, they weren't that good.
Oh.
Dade Park in Evansville.
Okay.
Those kind of races.
So this would be in the 50s or?
Yes.
50s. And did you ever?
40s and 50s.
40s and 50s. Did you get to ride those horses?
Oh, not the race horses. I wouldn't have. I used to walk them, cool them down after a race, but I wouldn't have got on one but I had a little pony in it as long as I can remember.
And
Her name was Reuben.
Reuben?
Yeah.
And could you ride your pony?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, okay.
All over Benton.
That sounds so cool. What kid doesn't want a pony? Every kid wants a pony.
Can I tell you?
You actually had a pony.
I had a pony. Can I tell you about one of my first recollections?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was asleep. I was a little bitty girl, probably, 6, 7. And my mother came and woke me up. And my dad had just come home. And, in those days, all the cars were big. And he had taken the back seat out of this car. And he had a little bitty pony in it. That was my first pony. That was Ribbon. And Ribbon was too old to run away with a little girl like me. But she had been a circus pony, so she still pranced, and she was so pretty.
Wow, that is awesome. How old were you when that happened?
I think about 6 or 7. Yeah.
So you're 6 years old and you got a pony.
Yes. And I take dancing lessons.
And you take dancing lessons.
I was
Sounds like you grew up in a fairy tale.
No, not really, but I had some nice things, yes.
Well, that's awesome. Let's see. So we get into the 60s, and were you a hippie?
Oh, no.
No?
And my children weren't either.
Okay.
And the other day they did some celebrations about Woodstock.
Oh, that's right.
And I would take no part in that
really?
because those were a bunch of druggies and hippies.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
none of my people would have let their children go to Woodstock.
Really? Okay.
Really, yes.
Okay. Were you into the music of that era at all?
Oh, of course. Always loved music.
So what were some of your favorite singers or musicians or?
Well, let's see. Tony Bennett.
Bennett.
Sort of thing,
Frank Sinatra.
Okay, yeah, Frank. And, we went to lots of stage shows and performances all over. My husband was very good about that. I don't think he really liked it as much as I did, but he might be in Iowa, and there was a program I wanted to see in St. Louis. He'd drive to Benton, get me, take me to St. Louis, and then drive me back to Benton, and then go back to Iowa where he was working. He was very good about that.
He's making me look bad.
Yeah, he made a lot of guys look bad. He was really special. Yeah.
Wow. And how long were you married?
54 years.
54 years. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. He traveled a lot. He left on Mondays and came home on Fridays. And nobody gets along all the time.
Sure.
And once in a while he'd leave on Monday and I'd think, he'll never be back. And to tell the truth, I didn't much care. But by Friday, we were fine.
That's interesting thought that all that travel was maybe, in a way, a good thing.
Oh, yeah. It was pleasant to see each other every weekend, yes.
So by the time he came back, you're ready to see him again.
Oh, sure.
Maybe I should try that.
It's a thought.
And then what do you think about the Tony Bennett's, the Frank Sinatra, compared to the music of today? I mean, do you hear much of the music of today and how it compares? What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's always some great music going on. There's somebody out there who's composing something new that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the heavy rock and the metal and all that, no, I can't see any good in that. But I do see some very good music during that period.
Mm-hmm. Up through the 70s.
I can't think what the name of it is right now, but I like lots of music, everything but country. I appreciate the fact that these are very good musicians. I just don't like the genre.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
it's just
diplomatic
a
answer.
Thing, yes.
Yeah. Is that a generational thing where the parents don't like the music that the kids listen to? I mean, did your parents not like your music? And did you not like your kids' music? Were your kids into heavy rock?
No, really. My kids were into, they danced and,
Okay.
So they
classical.
were really, classics, the classics, semi-classics,
okay.
The Broadway music.
Oh, Broadway musicals.
Yeah. So really, they didn't have rock music going in the bedrooms loud or anything.
So it sounds like your house was the exception, probably.
I like to think so.
I think there's a lot of turn that music down going on.
Well, in my house, I also had a dance studio. And so I would go downstairs and teach dance.
Oh, that's nice.
And then once a week, I taught a ballroom class.
Huh.
And so the kids then would stay there and dance for a while, and we'd have potato chips and Cokes and things for them, and we would always be there, up and down. But, it was just kind of the social thing of the week in that little town where we lived. So I really didn't have a lot of that funny music. I had whatever music was there on my player.
Yeah. Well, music sure has changed a lot. Actually, there's in pop music, it kind of goes in waves, and sometimes it'll pull in a style from, there was an
long ago.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, it's amazing how it almost.
Today I sometimes hear a song that was of my mother's era, and it'll be done in a very nice arrangement, so that it's different, sounds different, but I know it's a song from long ago.
Mm-hmm. What about Elvis? Did you like Elvis?
I liked him. I wasn't crazy about him.
Just sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of his stuff is very good, though.
Yeah, he was a good singer, wasn't he?
And so were the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughters like the Beatles. I mean, they listen to the Beatles just like they would listen to, and I think it's kind of extraordinary how that music has stood the test. I mean, all the generations, all the decades, it still holds up.
Well, there's someone that comes along every generation, or maybe more than some. And so there's some good music in there someplace.
Yeah. So let's talk about, how technology's changed through the years, and before computers, after computers, cell phones, smartphones, iPhones, iPads. How have you seen the world change through all those transitions? Do you think it's a good thing where technology's gone to, or are there some negatives to it?
Well, I was kind of stubborn about all that. When I got out of school, I could run every business machine known to man, I think, and I was managing offices. And then computers came on. And if they'd come out about 10 years earlier, I probably would have loved them, but I just didn't want to start over at that point. So I kind of refused to have anything to do with them. And my husband said, how are you going to run a business without? I said, we're going to have computers. I said, I think there's probably all kinds of people all over who are saying to somebody, do this or do that. And that's what I did. I had 2 male secretaries, and I asked them for what I needed, and they put it on my desk.
Well,
so I really didn't go along with that much, and so I'm no good at it.
Well, I'll return to technology in a minute, but you said something that was interesting. You sort of flipped the gender stereotype there a little bit because you had male secretaries, right? So that was probably an anomaly in that time, wasn't it? I mean, usually...
Yes. I was doing all the hiring and the firing. When people came and applied, I said to them, do you mind working for a woman because you'll be working for me? And so I paid attention to what they said, and so I usually wound up hiring males.
And did anyone say yes, they do mind?
Not a bit.
Well, that's good.
Well, of course, they were wanting a job, but I believed them, and actually it turned out that way. They would compliment me and tell me, I wish I'd learned this. I hope the next place I go appreciates how much I've learned here.
So you were ahead of your time, being a female executive like that. I hope so. This was, what, the 80s, the 70s, or probably?
I guess the 80s. Yeah.
Were you the exception or were you the norm in terms of your reaction to computers? When computers came out and you were a little resistant, were most people resistant or were most people excited about this new innovation? I'm
trying to think of my friends. I would say probably half and half.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And computers were probably a little bit like TVs when they first came out. It was like, there's a computer.
Yes.
The first computers were, as big as this room.
I was a little bit afraid. I'd been able to type 100 words a minute.
Oh, wow.
And then I was afraid to touch these computers, you know. So it was quite a change for me. And maybe that's why I resisted. I don't know. I didn't want to start over, you know.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, I guess it's like with anything, you know, there's positives and negatives, right?
Sure.
Pros and cons.
Sure. I certainly grew to appreciate what they could do for me. I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Do you remember where you were when Neil Armstrong stepped out of the lunar module?
I think I was watching TV.
I mean, how did that make you feel? Was that
I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah. I bet it seemed like, wow.
Never thought it would happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonder what else could happen that we can't dream of yet.
Well, I think a lot of things are happening. Now, my grandson did have one of those cars that drives itself.
He does.
Yes.
He does now.
But I never got to ride in it, and he sold it.
Oh, a Tesla?
Yeah.
Was it a
Yes,
Tesla?
it was a Tesla, yes.
So would you get in it? Would you ride in it?
Oh, yes, I wanted to, but
okay.
he didn't get down here with it, and now I can't go.
Oh.
He was in Chicago.
Well, pretty soon they'll all be driving themselves, so.
I thought, when I was running the businesses, I really thought we'd all be flying helicopters to work. And I was living in a place that had a lot of land, and I could have landed one right beside my house. And I had a business that had a flat roof, and I could land it on the roof about 20 miles away. And I really thought that's what I'd be doing, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, have you seen these drones that we have now?
I have, yes.
I mean, that's sort of like a helicopter in a way, but, you know, pretty soon people will be zipping around in those things.
I wish I could have been here.
Amazon is already delivering packages with those things, so it's not too far off when it could be a person.
Yes.
You know?
I don't know why I resisted computers, because I love fast cars.
Fast cars and computers. I'll tell you what I want is a jetpack. I want a jetpack where I can just fly around.
Just fly yourself.
Yeah.
I would like to do that.
This would be fun, wouldn't it?
But you know, I'm going to have to get to be an angel to do that, and I don't think that's possible.
So you could use wings instead of a jetpack, right? Well, I'll tell you what, is there anything that, because, you know, this will be on the internet, and we'll be able to, you know, your friends and family and all your grandkids and great-grandkids can hear your thoughts, and the world can find you. Is there anything you want to, this is your moment, the microphone's on, is there anything you want to say to future generations? Or
I hope I didn't say anything I have to be ashamed of.
No, not at all.
I do want to thank you, because I love the Family Channel.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, we're glad you like it.
I not only get pictures and messages from all my relatives, but I also get flowers nearly every day. I have a friend who goes out in her yard and takes a picture of her prettiest flower that day, and then she sends it to me, so I get flowers every day.
I love it. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Where does she live?
Here.
In Louisville, so she'll take a picture of a flower and send you.
Evidently, she's got a really nice garden, and so it'll be different nearly every day. A new way to send flowers to your wife.
Click here to send flowers. There's a new feature. That's a good idea.
Yes, it is. It's hers, not mine.
What's her name?
Her name is Carol.
Carol?
Yes.
Well, Carol, if you're listening, thank you for doing that for Miss Pat. That's very cool and sweet, and we might borrow that idea. All right, well, thank you so much for coming down and spending time with us and telling your story and giving us your thoughts. And this wraps up episode number 2 of the Grand Tapestry podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Grand Tapestry podcast, brought to you by My Family Channel. Please visit us at myfamilychannel.com and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite listening directory.